Place your hands behind your back, away from your back. No, behind your back, away.
No, stand up.
Stand up. Stand up.
Stand up. Sir, can you stand up?
All right. Put your hands behind your back. Look happy.
That was Pastor Artur Pawlowski, arrested when stepping off of a plane from the United States as he landed in Alberta, Canada, after returning home from a 4-month speaking tour in the United States, which included a meeting with the son of former President Donald Trump, Eric Trump. This is an extremely disturbing event, him being arrested, which actually pales in comparison to the police state of Australia, which we'll get to, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Stick with me as I delve into what in the world we are witnessing going on today. Folks, as you know, social media censorship is growing. The best way to support our video work for Israel is to subscribe to our video newsletter on pulseofisrael.com and to share our videos. If you are already a subscriber, then thank you. Okay, let's start with the arrest of Pastor Pawlowski. The Canadian Global News website reported that the Calgary Police Service could not confirm what Pastor Pawlowski was arrested for on Monday, but said Tuesday that he was charged in relation to the following warrants: failing to wear a face covering mask on March 13th and disobeying a court order from June 5th after he was arrested in May for organizing and attending an illegal church gathering that went against the Alberta health regulations. Pastor Pawlowski became famous when a video of him went viral with him kicking out the Alberta police officers from his church on Easter Sunday.
Please get out. Get out of this property. Immediately get out. Get out of this property immediately. Out. I don't want to hear anything. Out of this property immediately. I don't want to hear a word. Out. Out. Out of this property immediately until you come back with a warrant. Out. 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 Out of this property. Immediately out. Immediately go out and don't come back. I don't want to talk to you. Not a word. Out of this property. Immediately out. I don't care what you have to say. Out. Out.
Lawyers for the Alberta Health Services asked the court at the time to sentence Pastor Pawlowski to 3 weeks in jail and that he be fined $2,000 plus pay a $15,000 fine in legal costs. This is back in June. Honestly, I have yet to see reported the actual reason why the pastor was arrested now, just last week. And why did the police have to arrest him the second he stepped off the plane, as if he is some kind of dangerous terrorist or a drug dealer looking to run? Sarah Miller, one of Pawlowski's attorneys, was interviewed by Fox News. Miller said that Pastor Pawlowski's treatment has been, quote-unquote, unusual. She continued to say, I quote, "There was no need to do that at the airport. The police could have called him in advance, tell him that they were coming over to lay criminal charges, meet him at his house, give him the opportunity to access legal counsel and sign paperwork without having any detention. I think that would be the ordinary way to do it." But if you've been following Pastor Pawlowski's story, there's nothing ordinary about the way it has been treated by officials, end quote. And the article continued that since the pandemic, other churches in Canada and Alberta specifically have faced imprisoned pastors, locked facilities, steep fines, and continued interference from government officials. And Pastor Pawlowski himself believes that churches and clergy are being targeted because they have historically opposed tyranny. Now listen to what the pastor told Laura Ingram a few months ago after he was first arrested by the Alberta police.
What's happened to your country? We have no rights whatsoever. What we have right now is some kind of a hybrid between the fascism and communism, medical tyranny. It looks like we have absolutely no rights whatsoever. The premier of Alberta right now declared the protesting is illegal. So when I opened my church in the protest against the government overreach, I was, as you saw, I was taken to custody. I was manhandled. They really wanted me to be hurt. They threw me into a cell. They deprived me from sleep for 2 days. I spent 3 days in jail for my crime of opening the church in a free and democratic society.
Did you ever think you would see this in a supposedly free and democrat society? A former Eastern Bloc, you know what tyranny and dictatorships are like. Did you ever think you would see this?
No, I escaped tyranny. I escaped communism and socialism. I came to Canada only because Canada was offering me freedom. And here we are again, a repetition of history. And I decided I'm going to stand up and fight to the death. That's what I said to the officer. You know, you're not going to intimidate me. You can torture me if you want, or shoot me dead, or taser me, but I'm going to fight until the day I die. I have 3 children. And if, that's my message to the people. If you don't want to do it for yourself, please have some decency and do it for your children, because what kind of country are we going to leave behind for the future generation? How are we going to look into the faces of our children, our sons and daughters, and say to them, yeah, we allowed this to happen. We did nothing. We didn't care about your future.
Now, this man knows communism. He's from Poland. And he is scared about what he is now witnessing and living through in Canada. And we all see what's going on in the world. It's not just in Canada. Let's now jump to Australia. Check out this video compilation of different things that have taken place in Australia that some YouTuber put together.
We are a proud liberal democracy. We believe in a world order that favours freedom and that supports the dignity and free expression of all people. We believe in human rights, in gender equality and the rule of law, and we back that up with how we pursue these things in our own country, in our own society, and how we raise our own children. Australia was one of 8 countries only involved in the drafting of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and we continue to strengthen the international human rights system. And we will continue to raise our voice on important issues like the rights of women and girls, the rights of Indigenous peoples, because respecting the rights and freedoms of the individual is intrinsically important. It is fundamental to our values as a people and as a nation. It lifts all societies and nations too, delivering better outcomes through economic inclusion.
So if you get vaccinated, there will be special rules that apply to you.
Women's empowerment, environmental sustainability, rising living standards, and so much more. Australians' actions are guided by our belief in the inherent dignity of all people, everywhere, no matter the circumstances. Mr. President, we learned through the pandemic that every moment of challenge requires us to think anew, to engage with each other, to learn as you go. It is an experience understood by many others. And so we will continue to meet this moment with dialogue.
They're throwing stuff now, and okay, they're shooting. They're now shooting. They're now shooting people. You can hear the, oh my God! They're just shooting at everyone now. The bullets are going flying through the place, and you can still see through here. There are kids here. This is an absolute disgrace to the Shrine of Remembrance that they've come here and they're taking it over and causing violence and disruption to peaceful protesters that are here on this property, on this land, because it resembles the Anzacs that fought for our country and our freedoms. And now we're doing the same by trying to fight for our freedoms. They're shooting again! They're going through the trees and everything. All the bullets you can hear, like just flying through the trees, and the whizzing sound of it going through the air. and you can see.
The Australian police actually shot rubber bullets, huge rubber bullets, at peaceful citizens just protesting the COVID regulations. Why the use of such force by police against peaceful protesters? On the one hand, the Australian authorities tell the Australians that they want to protect their health, but then the authorities give a free hand to the police to literally beat up and shoot peaceful protesters? Something is seriously, seriously wrong with what we are witnessing, which is abuse of power by some of our Western governments that they're using in order to enforce these COVID laws that they're telling us to protect our health. But physical violence to protect health? Even though I've just focused on Canada and Australia in this video, both in Israel and America, we are also experiencing what some people might call an abuse of power or overextension of power by our governments in trying to protect our health. Whether it's the discriminating green passport laws that our leaders, at least in Israel, have admitted have no epidemiological reason for, but instead are totally in place in order to coerce people to vaccinate. Or the fact that people are being coerced to vaccinate with the risk of losing their jobs if they don't vaccinate. Like the 80-odd thousand New York State doctors and healthcare workers who just lost their jobs in New York State, and which is happening in Israel as well. Israelis are afraid of losing their jobs and running to get vaccinated because they want that green passport. Just the other day in America, Congressman Jim Jordan went ballistic about these vaccine mandates in a congressional hearings. In response to a congressman saying there is no discrimination with regards to the vaccine mandates, Congressman Jordan said the following.
Something that doesn't exist, tell that to the Border Patrol agents. They got till November 1st. If they don't get a vaccine, they're fired. That exists. Tell that to the healthcare workers who just got canned in New York. The heroes, you all called them heroes. We all called them heroes because they were a year ago. Tell that to them. Something that doesn't exist. That is the dumbest thing I've heard said today. Holy cow. Something that doesn't happen. They're going to lose their job if they don't do what Joe Biden says. And you say something that doesn't happen. Oh my goodness. You said this was a waste of our time. This is maybe the most important thing we can talk about. The freedoms that are being taken from the very people we represent. Something that doesn't exist. You got to be kidding me.
Did you hear that? Congressman Jordan was awesome. That's the dumbest thing I've heard today. Boy, do I love Jim Jordan. And as he pointed out quite clearly, vaccine mandates are happening. People should have the choice to take the vaccine, but not be forced to take it out of fear of losing their job or fear of losing accessibility to public life due to a government mandate. It is that simple. On that note, it is critically important that we all be reminded of the following famous words by former United States President Ronald Reagan.
Ours was the first revolution in the history of mankind that truly reversed the course of government, and with three little words: we the people. We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route and how fast. Almost all the world's constitutions are documents in which governments tell the people what their privileges are. Our Constitution is a document in which we the people tell the government what it is allowed to do. We the people are free. This belief has been the underlying basis for everything I've tried to do these past 8 years. But back in the 1960s, when I began, it seemed to me that we'd begun reversing the order of things. That through more and more rules and regulations and confiscatory taxes, the government was taking more of our money, more of our options, and more of our freedom. I went into politics in part to put up my hand and say, stop. I was a citizen politician, and it seemed the right thing for a citizen to do. I think we have stopped a lot of what needed stopping. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited. There's a clear cause and effect here that is as neat and predictable as a law of physics. As government expands, liberty contract.
There must be a balance between our freedom as citizens and health regulations from a government. But what we are all experiencing today is something totally different. Our government's becoming bigger and bigger, getting more involved in taking away our basic freedoms and liberties instead of following the words of Ronald Reagan when he said that, quote, "Man is not free unless government is limited." So to sum up, I couldn't end this topic with a more perfect statement of truth than from one of my favorite United States politicians, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis.
These mandates, this is not about science, because if it was about science, you would recognize the infection-conferred immunity that people like Jonathan has. Israel did a study. They said it was much, much more protective than the Pfizer vaccine was. Cleveland Clinic did a study, same thing. Every single credible study always shows that it provides good protection. And so that's just the reality. So I don't support mandates at all. But if you're doing mandate based off this, if you're really following science, you would acknowledge this natural immunity, and instead they ignore it and force somebody who already has protection to take a medical treatment they may not like. And so it's really about using government power, control to mandate much more than it is about the underlying medical issues that are involved. And I think that is the perfect example of why. If you do not acknowledge that, you are not following science.
And finally, it is so important to remember, we must all respect each other's personal medical decisions. Whether one takes the vaccine or not, we must respect one another. Those who choose to take it because they believe it protects them, those who don't choose to take it because they don't need it, they have medical treatment, they have antibodies, they're following their doctors. We must respect one another regardless of our personal and what should be private medical decisions. People must stop listening to the fear campaign of governments, backed by Big Pharma and the media, painting all unvaccinated people as dangerous to society. It is simply not true, according to the science. If former President Ronald Reagan were alive today, he would most probably be screaming to high heavens about those horrendous government fear campaigns, telling us all that they are all about the government trying to scare the public so that they can get away with taking more power and taking away more freedoms and liberties from the people. With it all, everybody, stay healthy and stay sane. Signing off from the eternal and ancestral homeland of the Jewish people, the land of Israel.
Pulse of Israel, frontline videos from the Holy Land. Support our work by donating today.